Welcome to another edition of Squad 915. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for pressing play. Be sure to check our socials. Link is in the description. We're on Facebook, X, Twitch, and of course, we are also on Instagram, and you can check it all out on one single source, which is our link tree, and that's going to be in the description. And if you'd like to follow me personally, my link is also in the description as well. Very much would appreciate you to like, follow, subscribe, anything and everything you can do to help us get recognized, help spread the word about Squad 915, and just tell your friends about it. Like, subscribe. That's basically the equivalent to going to one of our cool events that we're a part of and purchasing a 3D print from us, because what it does is it basically tells these platforms that we're on, tells the algorithm, hey, we like these guys, so you should continue to push them out. And so very much appreciate it if you were just hit the like, subscribe, and don't forget to click on that notifications tab, so this way you will be the first to know when we come out with something new. So once again, thank you very much for listening. Much appreciated. Today's business spotlight is another cool one indeed, because here in the El Paso area, sometimes not always a lot to do. However, there are a lot of events that happen. As you know, Squad 915 is a part of the Kaleidoscope events. We're a part of the Art Space events. Of course, we're going to be a part of the Borderland Roller Derby events. But today, we are going to be talking to Troy Stegner, who is the owner and organizer of Fatman events. Perhaps you have been to one of these events. Maybe El Paso Comicon, maybe Las Cruces Comicon, Horrorfest, or Anime Fest. So, Troy, thank you so much for being on Squad 915. Much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. A few years ago, you told me in our pre-show that Army veteran, you left Indiana, you joined the Army, got stationed here, got out, stuck around, and you opened up your comic book store in Las Cruces, now in Alamogordo, and then you jumped into organizing these cool events that we will talk about here shortly, particularly Horrorfest. But before we do, tell us about yourself.
Well, like you said, I was born and raised in Indiana. I didn't want to be a farmer, so there wasn't a whole lot of other opportunities. I decided I wanted to join the military and see the world, and I saw quite a bit of the world. Got out of the Army and came to White Sands as a civilian working on the satellite side. Got to the point where I was always looking for a place to buy my comic books, as I'm a collector, and I couldn't find a good place around town. So I just decided, well, I can do this. And from there, I opened up my comic book store. Then we started setting up as vendors from the comic book store at a lot of the local events. And one of those events was El Paso Comicon when it was under the previous owner. We approached that owner about maybe branching out and doing an event in Las Cruces, and he was not interested. So, I don't like when people tell me no. So I decided that we'll just do it. So we did a Las Cruces Comicon. We did one or two of them. And then the owner of El Paso Comicon posted that he was going to close his event up indefinitely. So we approached him about buying the rights to do the event in El Paso under that name, El Paso Comicon. I thought it was important to have the name of the city in the event, because whenever you do a Google search for any event, in the city, you're going to put the name of the city and then like Comic-Con or the name of the city and anime. So I thought it was important to have the name of the city in that event name. So we got the rights to conduct a event in El Paso under the name El Paso Comicon, and I think we got those rights in 2015 or so, and we took a year off to get everything ready. and we rolled out the first El Paso Comicon that we did, I believe, was 2016.
Okay, sounds good. Now, in this introductory podcast, when it comes to us talking together, we're going to talk about mostly about you, and of course, from there, we're going to focus primarily on Horrorfest, which is happening this weekend. And then, of course, as we get closer to the other events, we'll come back on the show and we'll talk about those events. Tell me about when you first opened the doors at your first business, the comic book store in Las Cruces. How did that go?
It was a slow start. We opened in a small storefront. I believe it was 1,000 square feet, and I had a hard time filling that small space up with stuff. But the longer you're open, the more product you accumulate, the more people find out about you. So your customer base grows, and we've been open there for over 10 years. We moved to a bigger spot down on Main Street. Now we have about 7,000 square feet, and we're starting to fill that up. So we're looking at ways to maybe have more space or curate the product more. But
Yeah.
it got to the point where we had customers coming from over the mountain in Alamogordo, and they could only come once a month or so. And, they kept asking me to open a spot over there in Alamogordo. And, last year we finally gave in and we opened a Zia Comics in Alamogordo.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Obviously, you're doing something right to be able to open a second store in Alamo. So congratulations for that. Tell me about maybe the first couple of years of you opening the store in Las Cruces. You said it had a slow start. Was there any doubt in there at one point where like, is this really going to work? Or were you always, strategizing for new ways to kind of get the word out about your business?
We had a string of comic book stores that were open for a year, then would close down.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody was kind of leery. There were days I would sit in the store and not see a person. And got a little tense there for a while, but we're always looking to do events in the store. We'd have in-store signings. We have art galleries. We had, free, of course, the free comic book day, Halloween Comic Fest, anything we could get to draw people into the store. And we still do a lot of those events, even at the bigger store in Alamo. As a lot of it, we don't make a lot of money at times bringing in, celebrities into the store from outside, but it's a way of us to give back to the community.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, like you said, the more you're there, the more people know that you're not going anywhere. So they walk through the store and they start to catch interest. Tell us a little bit about somebody who's never been into any of your stores, what they can expect to see or experience or touch and feel. Obviously, comic books are your forte, but what other items?
Well, we've tried to branch out a little bit. In Las Cruces and Alamogordo, there's not a lot of nerdy type stores. So we try to cover all the bases. We have the comic books, trade paperbacks. We have the little statuettes. We have manga, model kits, board games, card games. In Las Cruces, we have you can get hand dipped ice cream up at front, and in the back we have a little arcade where you can go back and play pinballs and arcade machines. So we try to cover all the bases. So if a family comes in, every member of that family should be able to find something that they enjoy.
Awesome. I'm pretty sure I walked by your establishment, and I'm pretty sure at least once or twice I walked in there and checked it out. So it's nice to put a face behind the business for sure, or in this case, ears, right? Because we can't really see you. We're out talking on the phone. But it's nice to know that I've been into your establishment and I've seen for myself what is going on. And so obviously things were working really well. You decided to open up your second store. Now tell me about the time when you said to yourself that, you know what, I want to jump into the events organizing. So tell me a little bit about that.
Like I said, we set up as vendors, as with Zia Comics at a lot of the local events, and the old El Paso Comicon was one of those. And we wanted to have an event similar to that in Las Cruces. So since that none of the organizers we talked to were interested in doing anything in Las Cruces. So we did that, and we were fairly successful with it for a couple of years. Then the opportunity came for us to take over El Paso Comicon, and we talked about it long and hard. Can we do something in a bigger city like that? And we decided we've never backed down from a challenge like that before. So we did it. I mean, we started El Paso Comicon off small. I don't know if a lot of people remember. It wasn't always like it is now. We started off with just Hall. I think we had Hall A the first year, and then we sold enough booths that we actually moved over to two halls. We had Halls B and C. So, I mean, we didn't always have the whole convention center. We had to build it small and slow. We're more instead of coming out of the gate big and strong, we want to build it slow and sustainable because we want this to be here for a long time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes complete sense. Your first couple of conventions, you don't really know what the reception's going to be, right? And so you have to start off small and then kind of build up from there. And then obviously you were able to create your event. Your first event was successful enough for you to expand, and thereafter, and it's just kind of been growing and growing, right?
Yeah, every year the money we make, we try to turn around and invest it back into the event because we want to keep making it bigger and get higher tier celebrities to come to the event. So it's as soon as the event's over, like a week later, we start working on next year's. A lot of these higher tier celebrities, you got to book them pretty far in advance, sometimes almost a year or more in advance to make sure you get them on your date. So we're big on reinvesting the money we make into the event to get it bigger.
Of course, absolutely. And the reception, the community has embraced you for you to continue to host these events. Of course, you have Horrorfest this weekend. You have Las Cruces Comicon that happens right around August. You have El Paso Comicon happening right around April, and then Anime El Paso in June. And so, hey, you've got your plate full when it comes to organizing these cool events. And so obviously we're going to dive into more of those as we get closer to those particular events. So let's focus primarily on Horrorfest. So what was the inspiration behind creating Horrorfest here in El Paso?
Okay, yeah, at El Paso Comicon, people are not shy about telling you who you should bring in as a guest. And we noticed that they kept asking for more and more horror related guests. And at El Paso Comicon, we try to cover all the genres. We try to have a huge umbrella and get somebody from every genre because it's just a general Comic-Con. But there were enough people asking for horror related guests that we talked about them. We figured, let's try to do just a focused event on just horror so that, we can bring in a ton of horror guests, and people are going to expect when they walk in the door to see only horror because that's what that event is. So we did the first Horror Fest in October of 2023. We found out October is probably not a good month to have a horror related event because everybody has their horror related event in October, and you're competing with every trunk or treat, every costume contest, there's just so many horror related events going on in October that we had decent attendance, but not the attendance we were looking for. So we looked at the calendar and picked a month with the least amount of events in it, and that was February. So we moved it to February because, we think horror should be celebrated all year round, not just in October.
No, it makes sense. Me being big on Halloween, I love Halloween. I love the month of October. It's my birthday month, so that's extra special for me. But I really love going to the Halloween haunted house related events. And obviously, a lot of the big organizers, big haunted houses have those events during Halloween because that's what people want. So it makes sense. But when that's all over, it makes sense for you to organize it kind of later on, kind of like a Christmas in July kind of thing to kind of revitalize the spirit once again. Even the biggest Halloween convention, I think it's called Transamerica, happens in March. And so you have all of the big organizers for the big, ginormous, super haunted houses go there, and they do the seminars and the conventions and all that stuff. So I think it was very, very smart on your part to be able to put something in the middle of, or basically in the winter time going into the spring, that just kind of gets people right back into the mood of the horror fest feeling and the theme and stuff. And I would imagine that the turnout is a lot more substantial than it would be in Halloween, right?
Well, we're going to find out this weekend. I hope you're right.
Yeah. Horror fest that, it was inspired by people that were coming up to you and they really wanted this, so you created it. And let's talk about Horrorfest. So what is Horrorfest all about?
It's kind of like a Comic-Con that's just geared toward horror-related events. Every one of the guests that we bring in is going to have some kind of link to horror. Most of the vendors, if they're smart, are going to have their products geared toward horror. Like I said, we're going to have a haunted house up in the front. The 915 Echoes of Horror will be hosting for us. There's going to be a really cool kickoff party and an after hours party Friday, Saturday. There's going to be Q&A panels where you get to talk to these horror guests that the people you saw on TV and fell in love with their characters. You'll get to go to a Q&A panel with them. We'll have professional photo ops where you can go and get your picture taken with this guest professionally, and then they'll print it out on the spot for you. So I mean, there's going to be a lot of horror related stuff for all these fiends out here that just can't get enough.
Excellent. Sounds very fun for sure, especially the haunted house aspect. That's pretty cool to be able to go to a haunted house in February to get scared. That's pretty cool. Kickoff party happening at Rosewood Bar on Friday night. After party Saturday night, same place, Rosewood Bar. You told me in our pre-show that every year with these events that you actually go to other events and get an inspiration. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, we like to go to cons ourselves, so we travel around to as many Comic Cons as we can around the country, and sometimes even outside the country. We want to see how other people are doing it. We're not so vain to think that we're doing it the only way there is to do it. A lot of these other places, they have great ideas, and we try to incorporate as many of the great ideas we see. And then they do things that don't quite work out, so we make note of that to avoid doing it the way they did it. So we try to learn from their successes and mistakes and incorporate it into our events.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant on your part because not everybody knows what to bring to an event. Obviously, you've been doing events for quite some time, so you kind of already understand the vibe of this area. But for you to be able to go to the other cons and take inspiration from them, bring it here to give the visitors and vendors and guests that same type of other con experience is pretty cool. I know that San Diego being the biggest Comic-Con, but you said that you are particularly inspired by the Phoenix Comic-Con. Tell me why.
Phoenix is the Southwest market, just like we are. It just seems like they are doing things the right way. They've been growing. They started out not as big as they are now, so they've been doing the sustainable growth as well. And their convention center is just made perfectly for that type of event with the both sides, and that you can connect underground, and then you have the three different floors, so they have a lot of space they can still stretch out into. So I think they're going to get bigger. It's just I look at them as the way they get their the tickets out to people, they get the people in the door, how their layout is it's very easy to walk. And every time I've gone to Phoenix, I've really never I can't remember any problems I've ever ran into. So if they have problems, they're taking care of them behind the scenes, which they should, so you should know about it. And that's the way I would like to run our event. I want it to go smooth. I want you to come in and just have a good time, and your mind only be on the event instead of seeing issues, and then your mind goes to that issue. We want you to come in and enjoy it the whole time you're there for the whole weekend.
Yes, of course. You want to be totally immersed in the experience without having to deal with anything else, logistically or mechanically or anything like that. You just want to get yourself fully immersed into the experience. You want to hear something funny? I actually lived in Phoenix for 6 years. I lived out there. I had a house out there. I went to the Phoenix Comic-Con once, and that was just very briefly. And so don't have a lot of experience when it comes to the cons myself. I've been to many conventions, many other ones in my former years and everything, just not particularly the Comic-Con thing. And so as somebody like me who has never been to any other major con event that is going to come to Horrorfest for the first time, what can they expect to experience when they walk through the doors?
Well, we hope that you come in and you're just in awe of all the horror stuff. You come in, like you said, you're going to be immersed in the horror genre. You could go to a Q&A panel and talk to one of the guests. That they'll be answering questions from the crowd. Usually, they give you a little insight into their career. You can get a photo with them. You can go and meet them at their booth and get their autograph. You can go around and visit all the vendors and get all your horror merch that you typically won't find in local stores. A lot of it's handmade, so you can only get it from them. We're bringing in a couple of horror themed vehicles, like the Ghostbusters will be there. We're going to have the Crowley Impala from Super. These are replica cars; they're not actually ones in the movies, but the Supernatural Impala replica will be there, and we're going to have a Mystery Machine replica set up there for the horror stuff. So, I mean, if you can't find something that you like in the horror genre at the event, you're not looking, because it's going to be in every corner.
No, absolutely. I think when somebody comes in, and especially somebody who's never been to any of the events that you have hosted, they want to get overwhelmed, right? You want to walk in and be like, holy smokes, this is great. I can do this and I can do that and I can go over here and I can do this. That's that very much entertainment, amusement feeling that you want families and people to enjoy. And so let's start with the fundamentals. Somebody who's going to this event for the first time, where would they park at? What's the situation on that?
There's several places to park. There's always the parking garage underneath the convention center, but that is a pretty central parking lot. So if there's a game going on in the Chihuahua Stadium, you're going to get a lot of people parking there. That parking lot does tend to fill up, around midday. But there's another parking garage right around the corner. Uh, there's another one over by the hotels. I mean, there's several areas you can park, and there's some on-street parking. We put a map up on the website, actually, if you go under the info area, and you'll see we tried to map out all the parking areas so that you can find a good place to park when you're coming down. Because if you're not from the area, you might think that the convention center parking lot is the only one, but there are several areas to park, and you should be able to find a decent place to park. Or you can park offsite and take the trolley in, because the trolley runs until late on Saturday and Sunday. So you can park offsite, ride the trolley in, and it stops right across the street from the convention center. Walk over, enjoy the day, go back, get on the trolley, go back to your car. There's many, many ways you can get to the convention center without, having to walk a long distance.
Yeah, well, El Paso's the downtown area is particularly kind of small, so anywhere you park, it's a very short walk. And I like the idea of the trolley. I did ride the trolley a couple of times. I took it way from up on top of the hill, and it took us all the way down. And so that's actually really cool to actually avoid the traffic. You just go park in one of the areas where the trolley picks up, and then you hang out and enjoy the ride to the event and back to your car. So that's pretty cool to hear. Somebody who's never been to the event before, what about food options?
Well, like most venues, they want to be the main food and beverage vendors. So the convention center concessions will be your big food vendor. There will be some other ones. The vendors that are doing the food, they have to be approved by the venue so that they're not competing with them. They don't want to be selling the same things. So the main one will be the venue concessions. And they usually have really good food. People always complain about the concessions food at cons, but we've been to a lot of conventions, and the offerings they have here in El Paso at the convention center are really, really good. I've really not had any complaints about the food. People are going to complain, mostly about the price, but that's when you go to an event, they know they have you, so they're going to charge a little higher price. The one thing to remember is if you're going to go to the venue's concession, El Paso Convention Center is cashless. So you will have to use a debit or credit card to pay for the concessions. The individual vendors, they'll all take cash, but the venue does not.
Okay, understood. You said that you have quite a bit of vendors already booked. You think you said you had like 20 spaces left? And so for those who are listening to this podcast, last minute, want to get in on your event, talk a little bit about how does that work?
We try to make it as easy as possible for vendors. We don't assign booths to people. You go in and pick your booth from what's available. So if you go to the website and click on buy booth, it will take you to a page where you select if you want a vendor booth, an artist booth, artist inline, or wall. Then it will take you to a map and it will show you which ones are available. So you click on the booth or booths that you want from the available list, and then it will take you immediately to a payment page. So you can pick your booth and pay for it right there online, no hassle.
Okay. Any particular restrictions when it comes to any type of vendors, like food vendors and whatnot? I know you said that you have to work with the convention center itself so that there's not any competing issues there. But any other restrictions when it comes to vendors?
Yeah, food and beverage vendors have to be approved by the venue. You can't sell anything. If it's illegal outside the convention, it's going to be illegal inside the convention. No piracy. We don't want anybody selling bootleg stuff. The stuff you sell has to fall within local laws. So other than that, there's not a whole lot of restrictions on what you can sell. If you want to sell a lot of stuff, I would suggest that you, bring stuff that's along with the convention theme. Like if you bring anime stuff to a horror fest, you're probably not going to sell a whole lot.
Yeah,
So
man, that
just
makes
be
sense.
aware of your demographic.
Yes, absolutely. You said you have vendor space, artist space, wall booths, and artist inline. Can you talk about those?
Yes. Well, the wall booths, that's pretty self-explanatory. They're up against the wall. Artist inline booths it's a long line of artist booths that are right up behind the celebrity row. The other booths, the artist and vendor booths, they're all set up in quads. So that each booth in the artist and vendor area is going to be a corner. You're always going to have a corner in those booths. And that, people always love corner booths. And the other good thing about that is that it also helps with traffic flow. If people had to walk all the way down a long line to get somewhere, instead of just cutting around through all these little alleyways, it does make traffic flow quite a bit better.
Understood. Okay. And for the full weekend, vendor space is $550. For wall booth is $350, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And like you said, you have 20 spaces left, and you can go to the website, which is elpasohorrorfest.com.
Correct.
All right. And then, so let's jump back into from the visitor side, the full weekend to attend Horror Fest for the entire weekend, Saturday and Sunday. If you want a combo ticket, that's $50. And then if you want to just go on a Saturday, it's $30. On Sunday, it's $25. Children 2 and under are free, which is awesome. And kids 3 to 12 are $5, correct?
That's correct. And we also have military discounts. If you go, you'll see those on the ticket page. And we don't like people doing stolen valor, so we teamed up with Verify Pass. So all you have to do is click on the Verify Pass link, and it will take you to a page where you can verify your military standing, and then it gives you a code to use so that you can get your discount.
That's very awesome because we got a lot of military in this town. You and I are veterans ourselves, so why not give that veteran discount? So that's pretty cool. Tell me about the kickoff party and the after party events.
Okay, the kickoff party is going to be on Friday at the Rosewood Bar. I haven't counted them. There's a ton of live bands that are going to be performing, and they're going to have a costume contest that will be judged by some of the local cosplayers there at the Rosewood Bar. So you can use that as like a warm up for the Horrorfest costume contest. Then Saturday, they're going to have an after hours party, and it's going to be another just night full of live bands. It's going to be from 8 p.m. till probably 2 or 3 a.m. whenever they kick them out of the bar. Both of those, since they're in a bar, both of those events are going to be 18 and over, and it's going to be these guys did our after hours party last year, and this year they wanted to add a kick off party also. So they're going all out. If you want to party all night, here's your opportunity. If you have a wristband for a Horror Fest, you're going to get in for free. Even if you just stop in for a few minutes to check it out, you should go check it out and help support these guys so we can keep them doing after hours and kickoff parties for us.
Sounds fun. I'm going to ask just this weird question, but I think that it could be on people's minds when it comes to this. What about security?
We have to, it's in our contract. We have to have security. There are off-duty police officers roaming around the convention center. We have to have those, for the guests and for the attendees, plus staff for the venue helps with the security. So there's plenty of security roaming around the convention center.
Okay, fantastic. Sounds very well secured, very well protected. That allows everybody to go to these events with peace of mind and just be able to enjoy themselves, immerse themselves, buy from vendors, enjoy the Q&A sessions, meet their favorite celebrities at the event, get something to eat, and then when all that's done, they can go have a cocktail or a drink at Rosewood Bar and listen to some local bands. Sounds like a action-packed weekend for sure.
Yeah, it should be. The last one was a ton of fun, and I think this one's going to be even better.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. As we start to wrap up this podcast, Troy, was there anything else that you wanted to add as far as any last-minute tips, any last-minute suggestions, or anything that you want to let the audience know before making it to the event?
Yeah, wear comfortable shoes. Look, if the guest has given us their autograph and photo op prices, those will be under their individual bios on the website. Just click on guest and then go to featured guest, and you'll see them all listed there. You can click on their picture, and if they provided their pricing info, that'll be there. Most of the guests will accept credit card, but if you want to be safe, you might want to bring some cash with you. And I believe there's going to be at least one, maybe two ATMs set up by the venue. So you have to pay to get in. And then, of course, you're going to have to pay if you want an autograph or a photo op or something from a vendor as well. So make yourself a budget so you don't overspend. Come and enjoy yourself. Costumes are not required, but they are encouraged. So if, this is not, this is a judgment-free zone. If you want to wear all your stuff and look like the Crow, do that. If you want to come in like Leatherhead or Leatherface, do that. It doesn't matter. Just come and enjoy the horror genre.
That brings up a good question. When somebody is going to buy the tickets, can they buy them from your website? Can they buy them at the door? Is there any partner places that they can purchase tickets from?
No, the only time you can buy tickets is, like I said, from our website or at the door. There are a couple scammers. There's always scammers. So if somebody's trying to sell you their tickets saying that they can't use them, we have to delete those like 20, 30 times a day. Those are scammers. We don't run out of tickets. We have plenty. So don't fall for that. The only authorized ticket resellers are us. So our website or at the door.
Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this podcast up. But before we do, Troy, the very last question, what is the future for you? What is the future for Fatman events? What is the future and what are your goals that you want to do with your events moving forward?
I don't know if you've ever been to San Diego Comic-Con, but when the con hits their city, everything within like a 1 or 2 mile radius from the convention center is themed for that weekend. Is Comic Con themed. El Paso, we can do that downtown. We have a good layout. We can get all the businesses down there and the museums, like the art museum. all those guys to kind of do stuff themed toward the Comic Con. I would like for the whole downtown to be an immersive experience for the event. So if you walk outside the convention center, your experience doesn't end. You can cross the street and go check out a Comic-Con related art at the museum, or you can go to one of the restaurants or bars and have something there that's Comic-Con related, or they might have an event that kind of dovetails into our event. We just want the whole downtown of El Paso to embrace these events.
Awesome. Well, you're well on your way to making that happen. As obviously, as long as these events keep going, I think more and more people, more businesses around downtown are going to want to jump on board. And of course, you know, you're always going to want to have the meetings with them and get together with them. And yeah, just I think that it's beneficial for everybody, all businesses and downtown, to be a part of this event together, because you're going to get the crowd that before they come into the event and after they come into the, or after they go to the event, that are going to want to keep doing things. And so I think you're well on your way to doing that. And I'm very excited to hear all about it. I'm very excited to hear more. And I'm certainly very excited to hearing more about your other events, such as Comic-Con in El Paso, Comic-Con Las Cruces, Anime El Paso, moving forward. So be sure to link back up with me, and we'll tackle and dive into those events as well.
Yeah, definitely. When those events come up, just give me another call.
All right. Sounds good. Once again, Troy, thank you so much for being a guest on Squad 915. Very much appreciated. And thank you very much for listening and pressing play. Once again, our link is in the description. Plus, you're going to get all the information that we talked about on this podcast in the description, all the links to the social media, the links to the El Paso Horrorfest.com. And you're also going to get the contact information to contact Troy if you want to be a vendor at the event. Like I said, there's limited space, but they're still available. So if you're listening to this podcast and you want that vendor space, then be sure to click on the email to let Troy know that you're interested. And we definitely look forward to seeing you there. So once again, thank you very much for listening to this episode of Squad 915 Business Spotlight, and we will talk to you again next time.